All right, we got 4 more awards left. You ready? Now, these are the big ones.
Okay, what do we got? What's the next one?
The next one is Cinephobiac of the Decade.
Cinephobiac of the Decade. Do we have any nominees, or do you want me to just hit the actual...
Well, I got to explain what a Cinephobiac of the Decade even is.
I thought everybody knew. Go ahead. So, what is a Cinephobiac exactly?
Well, it's actually a compliment. The Cinephobiac of the Decade refers to an individual, a filmmaker, a writer, a producer, an actor, somebody involved in the world of film, even a journalist. Don't worry, I did nominate myself. I would never do such a thing. Who contributed something substantial to the past decade of film culture, etc., etc. Somebody who did something remarkable, whether it was a film, a body of work, an event, whatever. Somebody who stands out as a Cinephobiac's Cinephobiac.
Okay.
You dig?
I got it. So, hit the envelope?
Yeah.
The winner of the first annual GLAZBALL Award for Cinephobiac of the Decade is... There appears to have been a tie.
That's right.
Okay. Why? Why a tie?
Well, it came down to 2 names. I couldn't decide who deserved it more. I was going back and forth. I was going all over the place. And I thought, well, what the fuck? Why not a tie? I'm making up these awards. I'm making up the rules. I can do whatever I want. It's a tie.
Who are the 2 people then?
Well, you tell me. You've got the bloody results.
Geez. Well, the first one I don't think comes as much of a surprise. Michael Moore.
And the Oscar goes to Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore and Michael Donovan.
We like nonfiction. We like nonfiction, and we live in fictitious times. We live in a time where we have fictitious election results that elects a fictitious president. We live in a time where we have a man sending us to war for fictitious reasons, whether it's the fictition of duct tape or the fictitious of orange alerts. We are against this war, Mr. Bush. Shame on you, Mr. Bush. Shame on you. And anytime you've got the Pope and the Dixie Chicks against you, your time is up. Thank you very much.
We've already covered this territory, haven't
Exactly. We don't have to go over why. Just rewind.
Rewind.
However long it takes to go back to our Michael Moore stuff.
But there's a second name here.
Well, I just want to say, in summary, for the reasons I said before, for his contributions to the documentary genre, for his impact on popularizing a genre, for proving that documentaries can do box office business and they can be entertaining. And you got to think of the countless numbers of documentary filmmakers he has personally influenced. There wouldn't be a Morgan Spurlock without Michael Moore. Oh, on second thoughts,
yeah,
maybe we should retract. Maybe we should retract that award.
The second winner.
And this is going to be controversial.
The second winner is Quentin Tarantino.
Count of 3, gotta stay close by me and hold tight, sing and shout, just wrap around the crowd and hold tight, shut your eyes, girl, you set me up for forget the other guys, you'll never fall, each time you call, hold tight, hold tight, hold tight,
Okay, why?
Well, it's probably going to be a bit controversial, and I'll tell you why. A lot of genre fans hate Tarantino. I wouldn't say a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. I think most like his work. A lot really resent his work, and their dismissal of his work actually fucking pisses me off because it's so short-sighted and the perspective is so narrow. Genre film fans who are familiar with a lot of the film's specifics that he references in movies like Kill Bill 1 and 2 will point out things like references to Lady Snowblood and whatever. There's a whole myriad of films that he references.
And it goes all the way
One
back.
Eye
It
with
goes-
Christina Lindbergh.
It goes all the way back to his first film. I mean, which references Ringo Lam's City on Fire.
Well, in that case, you know, you could make a case that he actually just outright kind of ripped off the story, but it's Reservoir Dogs is a vastly superior film to City on Fire. But basically, Tarantino, his kind of homages, his references, even his outright scene stealing, can be best thought of as colours in his artist's palette. Because it's how he crafts his films. It's how he plays with audience expectations. It's how he weaves the elements together. It's how he writes his dialogue. It's how he gets inside the dramatic underpinnings of a scene. It's how he plays with the narrative sequences of a movie. He not only references specifics on other films, he references entire movements, entire philosophies, and he weaves it all together in this kind of complicated, very idiosyncratic tapestry. Tarantino makes Tarantino movies. I think of any of the American directors of the past decade, he's put the most personality in any one of his films. And I gotta tell you, consistently, his entire body of work in the past decade pretty much comprised the most exciting theatrical experiences I had in the cinema. From the Kill Bill movies to Grindhouse, which was woefully underappreciated. Basically, people went to see the film, thought it was fantastic, collectively, the two films together, and the whole night with the fake movie trailers and everything. It was wonderful. I don't know if you got to see Grindhouse.
I loved it. As a complete experience, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I went back and saw it again twice, and we're lucky because then they did a terrible thing because it performed so poorly at the box office. They chopped the films in two and released them individually elsewhere. Unfortunately, they released them in countries where the whole Grindhouse concept probably would have played better. Unfortunately, the films just tanked everywhere. It was one of the most woeful situations of the past decade. But then he bounced right back with Inglourious Bastards, which is arguably one of his best films. Certainly has some of the best elements he's ever concocted in cinema, especially that opening sequence.
The opening sequence is fantastic.
With Christoph Waltz.
Yep.
And just the audacity of Inglourious Bastards. He defies all sort of genre conventions and rules, and he moves from one genre to another. And while he's at it, he rewrites history. It's almost an admission that cinema can never approximate history. That even if you try to be as faithful as possible to historical facts, it's still a fiction. So he doesn't even pretend to believe in that fallacy.
I think
he addresses it directly. It's like, we can't pretend to be historically accurate, so fuck it, we'll just rewrite history. This is the movies, and it's movies that saved World War II. It's a phenomenal film. It's a wonderful love letter to movies in general. Robert Richardson's cinematography, the performances, and I think Tarantino consistently writes great parts for great actors, often woefully underused and even forgotten actors.
And I think if a word can be properly attributed to Quentin Tarantino, I think Cinephobiac is probably a pretty good one.
He's a Cinephobiac, there's no question about it. So congratulations, Michael Moore and Quentin Tarantino. Cinephobiacs of the decade.